Hey there friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and with the early access launch of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 dropping in just a couple days, I wanted to go over all the melee weapons that'll be available in the game at launch. And all of these weapons are iconic within the 40k universe and have very different playstyles, so you might have a decision to make when choosing your beginning class, because a lot of them will have only one or two of these melee weapons as default options. So, starting off, we have 5 weapons, and the first one is one of the most recognizable within the 40k universe, which is the chainsword. This thing is absolutely insane. It sounds really awesome. It's got some good combinations. It does a ton of damage and is just insanely fun to use. So this is one that you can absolutely carve through the Tyranids with, and it looks absolutely insane. It's definitely, at least for me, my favorite looking weapon in the game, and I do think it will be very powerful as well. How could they not? If they were to mess up an iconic weapon like this, it would be a bunch of backlash from the community for sure. It's got pretty standard even keel stats at 4 strength, speed, and cleaving potential, as well as balanced defense, but overall this is one that I think will be very, very nice, especially if you want to use it early on in the game. And if you do want to check out the chainsword, then you might want to go with the tactical class, because it is one of the early options that you'll be able to use. So that's really where the chainsword will pop up frequently. Next up, we have the combat knife. This is going to be for players who want to be a bit faster, some endless combinations, really kind of go quickly through the enemy hordes and not really cut and tear through them as much as dash through the enemy forces. And so this one is a pretty standard option. It's a high-speed dueling melee weapon, and while it doesn't have the flash of a lot of the other options in the game, it is one that I think will be very, very useful for players who want to play a certain play style, because it will be a lot more maneuverable when using this weapon. And so I think that's very important to keep in mind, because if you're a speed type of player, yes, Space Marines are big and strong and sometimes a little bit clunky, but if you want to have that edge with quickness, the combat knife is probably going to be for you. And if you do want to rock it right away, then you might want to check out the sniper class. That is one that will have it available early, as well as the Vanguard as well. So either one of those would be a good option if you want to check out the knife early on in the game. Next up, we have the Power Fist. This is a melee weapon that deals far-reaching wave damage. So if you're a player who likes to combine ranged attacks with your up-close melee, then the Power Fist is probably going to be for you. Fighting bare knuckle looks absolutely hilarious to me. I think it's awesome, and I definitely think that a lot of people should consider rocking this. Even though it might not be as iconic as something like the chainsword, it does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the energy field is designed to violently disrupt any solid matter it touches, and you will quite literally be smacking the flesh off of targets with each strike. So it looks really cool, the oversized armored gauntlet that you get with the energy field, and overall I think this thing is going to be a ton of fun to use. I just like games where you can essentially just go bare knuckle brawling through the enemies, and so that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to trying this one out. If you do want to rock the Power Fist, the Assault class is probably going to be your best option, because that is where it is really going to shine. You can use it with the jump pack and jump into enemies and then just start absolutely throwing haymakers, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. Then we move on to the Power Sword. This is one of the more, again, iconic weapons in the Space Marine Warhammer 40k universe. The hilt of the weapon stores a power cell. When activated, sheathed in lethal corona of disruptive energy. This allows the cut through flesh, bone, and nearly all forms of armor. You will quite literally be able to slice opponents in half, if not dismember them. Now, this one, again, is a little bit faster than the chainsword, but it has pretty balanced overall stats. It's not going to have the same animations when you're tearing through enemies. It doesn't have the same sound, but it does look really sick. And I do feel like this is going to be one of the more highly sought after weapons in the game, just because of how balanced and strong it is overall. It is going to be the most well-rounded of the different melee weapons, in my opinion. And I do feel like a lot of people will kind of gravitate towards that one over some other options. Now, this is mainly run by the Bulwark, and I can definitely see some sword and board type players, people who want to run a shield with this sword pretty consistently, having a grand old time with this, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I understand why a lot of people in my comments of recent videos have been leaning towards playing as the Bulwark class, especially when you get the Power Sword as one of your early melee options. Then we have the Thunderhammer. This one is the weapon that I am most excited to play with, mostly because it does look like it's going to be insanely fun with the Assault class and the Jetpack, because you're going to deal out powerful AoE damage effects. So when you're swarmed by enemies, you can essentially launch yourself up in the air and slam yourself down to do a bunch of damage in an area. Now, when the weapon strikes a target, it activates and unleashes a tremendous amount of energy. The two-handed Warhammer will deliver the Emperor's Vengeance one strike at a time. Now, this one doesn't have incredibly high strength or speed, but the cleaving potential is crazy, and again, that AoE is going to be incredibly useful. It might not be super effective to use this against bosses necessarily, or heavier enemies, but it will be awesome for clearing a bunch of Tyranids at a given time. I think it's going to be one of the better options for doing so, and again, if you want to rock this, the Assault class is for you. Like with the Jump Pack, it's going to be absolutely insane to use, in my opinion. And I am looking forward to getting hands-on with that one in particular, because while the other ones are iconic in the 40K universe, this one just looks like it'll provide such a different style of play from the other weapons. Like, you can see the Chainsword and the Power Sword filling a similar niche, whereas you have something like the Combat Knife, which is a similar flow, but might not be as effective as those other options at straight dealing damage, but will be better for speed and maneuverability. Then you have the Power Fists and the Thunderhammer, which are completely different, both of which, like I said, you find on the Assault class, and that's why mostly I've been leaning towards that being my first class that I play once the game does drop. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of the melee weapons in the comments down below. Are you really looking forward to any of them above the other four? And which one are you most excited about? Like the video, comment, subscribe. As always, my name is Jopa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.